pictures of my classroom with the kindergarten class I had, and I am now actually in a high school, and I'm happy there. I love teaching high school, and as I'm getting older, I was saying, I think I'd rather work with cute little ones, but apparently I'm supposed to be around high school kids, and so that's where I am now. I've taught in Hawaii, New York, Florida, California. I've taught in several big cities. I have kept my hands off of every child. I do not, even my daughter. There are peaceful ways to train children, and when you train children in peaceful ways, they learn to respond to adversity in peaceful ways also. So the more, everybody is looking at America just fall apart, and most of it is through violence. Mm-hmm. And so if we want a great America, it has to start with our children. It has to start in our schools, and our schools need to be safe places. Our children are abused in schools. They learn how to hit in whatever format that may mean. That means violate somebody else's body. And then when they become adults, it becomes a normal thing. After all, they learned it from their teachers. So this is a problem I'm seeing just continue. And since I've been campaigning, I've actually seen this return to certain schools or districts. Some people are saying, Georgia just started school beatings again in their state. Well, they never went away. In fact, Georgia is the state where I actually first witnessed hands-on on school children, and that was in 2006. And it was then that this campaign, the Hitting Stops Here, started. And a lot of people laugh and joke about hitting. A lot of people may have been hit as children. And so what I see in schools from 1980 to present is either teachers will hit physically or they will hit emotionally, that is verbally, or failing students, preventing them from graduating on time. I see all of it. And it's a form of revenge that teachers take upon school children. It's unprofessional, and we send these children out into the world, and whatever violence they face may manifest in another way. Maybe they become a wife beater or a husband beater or their sons and daughters. But they learn that the way to fix the problem that they're displeased with is some form of pain, some form of hurt. And that's what we're seeing all around us. We're seeing violence increase. We're seeing all kinds of hateful ways that our young are treating the elderly, and it goes on and on.
Yeah, the most vulnerable in our society are being targeted, the elderly and the children, but we're also seeing, this bullying and targeting that's going on in the schools as well, and it's going pretty much unaccounted for. There's no accountability with the bullying and the targeting. And then it seems to seep into society. Once these children get out of school, the same sort of thing seems to apply in our justice system as well. There seems to be two sets of laws,
Exactly. And the thing, too, is that we have a U.S. Constitution. We have a law of the land that is violated first in our schools. Is violated first with little girls, with little boys, right on up through teens. Even if you are 18 years old, if you're an adult when you're 18, but you are counted as a school child as long as you did not receive that high school diploma, cross that stage, and exit. So even 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds are being beaten in schools. A dad sent me a photograph of his son's buttocks that was very badly bruised. He was 18, and he was the example of kids who were who cut out on senior day. I think I might have shared this with you in the past on the show. But the bottom line is that It doesn't matter how old you are. I have a story of a 24-year-old Black American woman in the state of Mississippi who was beaten because she didn't do some homework, and she was in an adult ed program. But because she was going after her high school diploma, she was still able to be treated like a child. And so she was beaten. She was 24, and some people will say, she's 24, why didn't she call the police? People don't realize that people who grow up under a system of this form of abuse they lack power. They are embarrassed. They are ashamed. There is no support out there. Their parents were beaten, so they're afraid to go to administrators. And it becomes almost like an illness. It's a mental illness when it comes down to them wanting to speak up. And the people who pick up these wooden boards, deemed a deadly weapon already in the U.S. Constitution, know that they have them. They know they're too afraid. They know who to hit, and they know who they will get away with hitting. And I don't see America prospering as long as, number one, we are acting as if we don't even have a law of the land. Mm-hmm. We have the best law of the land ever created in the history of mankind is the U.S. Constitution. And people, I speak to people, they say, oh, people don't use that, or we're not using that anymore, or that doesn't have any power anymore. And the only reason that may be true is because we are saying so. Yeah. We are not falling upon it, and that's what's happening.
Yeah. So, what the call to action now is to call the U.S. Chief Enforcer of Law, the President Donald Trump, Betsy DeVos, U.S. Senate Secretary of Education, to, calling and contacting these people to end corporal punishment in schools, H.R. 160.
Yes.
And this would eliminate a lot of not just, the corporal punishment or putting hands on the children, but a lot of the newer, more controversial topics that are being imposed on the children younger and younger every day, which is the pedophilia.
Exactly. And, I want to touch on that in a moment, but you brought up Betsy DeVos, and a lot of people may not know who she is. I mean, and most people who don't know who she is are fathers and mothers of little children. Well, she is the U.S. State Secretary of Education. And one of the things that I am concerned about is she's working really, really hard to have public schools go private. And what that means is that, okay, so because we haven't passed this bill nationwide to protect our children from these pedophile teachers who beat our children, she knows that we have 18 states that have banned. I wish I could say 19. North Carolina is on the edge. They haven't yet. But because it is not a federal bill going through, although, again, it is illegal, but they're acting like we need this H.R. 160. It's already in the U.S. Constitution that what they're doing is illegal because the wooden board is already deemed a deadly weapon. But what Betsy DeVos can do is, as long as she has public schools fall into this private school agenda that she has, no matter what state you live in, if you're in a private school, you can still be beaten. So let's say New York City, the state of New York banned pupil beatings in 1974. I graduated from high school in 1975, so I could have been beaten in New York during my time as a school child up until 1974. So right now, any private school in New York that chooses to beat school children can still do so. It's banned in the public schools in New York. It's banned in the public schools in California. But if they want to make beating school children accessible for teachers in all 50 states, then all they have to do is have public schools be transformed into private schools, and now you have 50 states where children are beaten more widely. She's saying that, well, we want private schools because then the numbers are smaller and the schools are smaller and this, that, and the other is smaller. But there's really an agenda to hurt and destroy our future and to enslave them. And if people are not seeing that by now, it's very sad, and it's one of the biggest reasons why our country is going down. People have blinders on. Instead of using their voices, they're closing their eyes to these things. And a lot of people say, well, as long as the number one statement I hear from parents is that as long as they don't hit my children. Yet when these children who have been violated attack their children in the street because they've learned in their schools how to solve problems through violence, then they want the worst form of punishment to happen to that child that hurt their own. So it's just really just such a selfishness about the American people, the dads, the moms, even the single parents who can speak out to bring this to an end. You know, whatever, you know, if you're going to hit a child, some form of abuse is going to result from that, unless that's a very special and unique person who says, I'm not going to do it. The average person who is hit will hit also, or even if it's verbal hitting or hitting by denying some need of a person. So we're allowing our country to continue to be violent as long as we allow our developing human beings to face violence at the hands of people who are supposed to teach them the way to life, liberty, and justice protected under the Constitution. That we're not even having.
If we keep speaking out on this, Paula, and we keep pushing this agenda, making it the number one agenda for 2020, the most important bill. You know, yes. if not for anything, this can encompass more than just, you know, putting hands on the children, the legalized pupil beatings, but also healthy boundaries for young children that are being imposed on daily in our schools with, you know, that are children that are being sexualized younger and younger.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, this whole thing about no bullying, I mean, it's so annoying. I hear it all the time in schools that I work in or visit, or parents, or just signs everywhere. No bullying, no bullying. And the greatest perpetrators are our school teachers. Wherever this is legal or wherever they're able to get away with this, there is an agenda for violence in this country. And what are you going to do? You have your child in some safe school, but your child is in a world where there's an agenda for violence against them. So it's going to end up in your child's backyard at some point. So the selfishness of people remaining silent on a bill that has been introduced 5 times already. I think this year in January it's fixed. And I'm amazed. I'm like, oh, good, they put it again. They put it in again. And I'm fighting and I'm trying to get the word out. I receive utter silence. And then people will talk about kids today. Well, where are the adults who are willing to speak out and have their constitutional rights protected when they're at the hands of educators?
Well, that's we need people adulting, stepping up for the children, and I want to do a series of shows on this HR 160 so that we make this the number one issue. But also, I want you to tell people where to go to support your initiative and how they can help out, and tell us about your 501c3.
Oh, okay. Well, for one thing, I am not a 501c3, and it's funny that you brought that up. I did want to talk about that. The 501c3, and if anybody out there listening has a pen and paper, I'd like you to write that out, 501c-3. And then add up 501, it comes to 6. And and then C, corporate, and that little dash is a minus sign, and that 3, as far as I'm concerned, that is a code.
It's an organization.